Mark Zuckerberg's company didn't do that. And while Trump benefits from fake news while using it against others as a slur, now the New York Times reporting authoritarian figures around the world using this trick. Now, the trick works for many different reasons, but one of them is how it is still pretty easy to spread fake news on Facebook, which makes money from clicks and shares regardless of whether the content is true. Yes, undermining democracy can be profitable, although Mark Zuckerberg says this is not what he wants.
I don't want anyone to use our tools to undermine democracy. That's not what we stand for. The integrity of our elections is fundamental to democracy around the world.
That part is true. So let's put American politics to the side for a moment and dig into Facebook and the Philippines. This is where President Rodrigo Duterte is deploying a Putin playbook. Now, he is accused of human rights abuses and targeting journalists and killing them more than any other country, although Trump and Duterte hit it off at their November meeting.
We've had a great relationship. This has been very successful. On behalf of everybody, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Duterte under fire for having reporters killed. Trump chuckled, though, reportedly, when he called journalists spies. And Duterte recently blamed his opposition critics for fake news.
The political opposition, the guys who cannot accept defeat. They invented the fake news.
Duterte has actually been busted for pushing his own fake news and all kinds of fake accounts on Facebook during their election. And so we're reporting this tonight because it reveals two very important things. One, authoritarians, of course, will adapt any technology. It could be guns, or it could be social media, and they will be authoritarian about it. We've known that for a long time, although it's worth remembering when you think about whether these platforms are good or not. But there's a second thing. The now infamous Mark Zuckerberg defense that he and his company only really learned about all of these problems after the November U.S. election, that doesn't look very true. Because Facebook is a global company, and it was ground zero for this Putin-Duterte playbook long before Zuckerberg was playing naive about fake news after November and repeating their mantra, they're just neutral. In fact, there was a whole scandal in that country, the Philippines, over fake news and bots in their election, which was, wait for it, held in May 2016, long before ours. And as Mark knows, a lot of this actually goes back to 2015. That is when Facebook first partnered with the Filipino government over a project that Facebook had called Internet.org. It's Zuckerberg's plan to try to connect everyone in the world, and that includes poor countries, so they can be online.
Our goal with Internet.org is to help everyone connect. Internet.org is a partnership between governments, mobile operators, local entrepreneurs, and companies like Facebook. Everyone is welcome to join. We'll work with anyone who wants to join us.
He's not kidding. They will work with anyone. And I'll explain. After their initial launch, the 2016 Philippine presidential election was around the corner. And there were all kinds of candidates that wanted help from Facebook about using the platform. And Facebook has done a lot. It sent 3 employees there to train candidates. That includes Duterte. Now, Facebook has a government team that does global work. It includes a former Republican operative, Katie Harbath, and includes Democrats, and they train campaigns, they say, from all sides, just like they offered Trump and Clinton training last year. But giving tips to a few campaigns in a constitutional democracy can be different than giving tips to this authoritarian, Duterte. And Facebook learned that quickly. In fact, after his team got that Facebook briefing, his allies went into overdrive, pushing fake news and accounts along with his other wider campaigns. And that brings us back to, guess who? Well, it's the Pope. He was named in a big fake news story in that country endorsing Duterte. That's false. And this is basically a kind of a sign. If you get a Pope endorsement, you are the fake news candidate.
Did you know that back in July, the Pope endorsed Donald Trump? The only thing is, it's not true. The website, Snopes, debunked the fake Pope Francis endorsement. The original fake Pope Trump endorsement got well over 800,000 shares.
Apparently, that happens in a lot of different countries. Now, know that, but in part with the domination of social media there in May of 2016, Duterte won that election. And his reliance on Facebook, this is interesting for other countries, it grew stronger. He also has less limits, constitutional or otherwise, than we have in the United States. So he started doing things like banning journalists from covering his events and inauguration and streaming them instead on Facebook. So would anyone stand up to this? Yeah, there was a journalist who decided enough was enough. She started speaking out against the way Facebook was being used. Her name is Maria Ressa. She actually spent almost 2 decades on air at places like CNN, and then she had started a database to track these problems. It was called the Shark Tank, and she logged over 12 million accounts that she thought were pushing pro-Duterte messages or fake news, many allegedly fake. She even traveled to Facebook's F8 conference, met with Zuckerberg, and kept trying to sound the alarm about how Facebook was being used. She also spoke to 50 high-ranking officers and employees at Facebook, she says, including Sheryl Sandberg. She says the only action she's seen after all of this is some paltry media literacy training, which partly puts it on consumers. Now, Facebook always says when these problems arise, they try to deal with them. And we here at The Beat reached out to a Facebook official, and they tell us that any issue that Ressa has previously alerted them to has been promptly reviewed and taken action, and when they saw violations of their standards, they would deal with them. They didn't asking for details. Sheryl Sandberg, of course, made a similar claim after the U.S. election was undermined by Russia.
We spend a lot of time on what content can run on our platform. We are doing everything we can to follow up on every lead. We were looking at this, certainly not as early as we would have liked to, because we wish we had found it before it ever happened. First line of defense is going after fake accounts.
We wish we found it before it happened. That's a defense that sounds reasonable and true in the U.S., but doesn't make sense when you realize how long this has been going on in these other countries. Now, Ressa tells us she actually is still an advocate of Facebook as a good platform for news and discussion, but adds Facebook needs to moderate its greed, clean up the toxic waste, and be accountable for its role as new gatekeeper to information. Duterte, meanwhile, has made the Philippines a very good place for business for Facebook. Towards the end of the election, Facebook even opened their first office in the country.
The Philippines has over 49 million monthly active users, representing 91% of internet users. Filipinos also have 60% more Facebook friends than the global average.
This is a good place for Facebook's business interests. I don't say that as a big criticism, and yet you'll notice in our reporting on Facebook, we keep coming back to Mark Zuckerberg making this claim that all of these initiatives, that Facebook's business strategy and connecting the world is not about money.
If we were just focused on making money, the first billion people that we've connected have way more money than the rest of the next 6 billion combined. It's not fair, but it's the way that it is. A secondary goal is to make it so that this is a profitable thing for the whole international operator community. Because, that's how you make this sustainable.
The argument there is that Facebook's primary business strategy is not about business. Please. And let me report this for you. After 18 months of discussion and planning that began mostly after Duterte's election, Facebook and the Filipino government revealed a plan to build a very pivotal submarine cable system, which is going to bring ultra-high-speed broadband service to that country and the region. It's a multi-million-dollar plan, and they say it is key to expanding access to Facebook for new customers. Facebook also teaming up with Amazon and a Japanese telco company to build an infrastructure of underwater cables to connect the entire Asia-Pacific region. The whole business connection here goes back to 2014. Facebook then was touting its success in the Philippines and its success working with a Filipino telecom company, which offered Facebook access to users at zero data charges. So when you take this all together, what you see is a whole lot of executives saying, we were surprised and it's not about the money. And then you look at the facts, and it is about the money, and it's not neutral. And in many cases, working with anyone and everyone to make money is not good for democracy.
Why should your business build a modern software factory? The new demand. Think about it. That retail store can't compete with this retail store running on an automated supply chain, analyzing trillions of actions to customize an experience, which now takes Bitcoin. But come on, you've got this, right? You're ready to compete, right? Well, TikTok, my friend. Who's going to help you supply this new demand? CA Technologies.